Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are continuing our top 100 games of all time. We are now into the top 50, which, I mean, if you really think about it, like 100 games is a lot to a lot of people. And I was watching the Dice Towers top 100, and they do a pretty good job of putting it into perspective how 100 games really isn't a lot if you're, in that kind of hobby or business. And so whenever you get into the 50, that's pretty significant, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree for sure.
So yeah, with that being said, I have 3 new ones on my list. 3 moved up and no, 4 moved up and then 3 fell.
This is probably my best 10 because I've only had one fall. I've only had one fall. I have 2 new ones, and everything else rose.
I would have laughed if you're like, I had 1 fall and all 9 are new. It's like, oh, well, okay. Good deal. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started with my number 50. My number 50 has been on my list probably since since I've been in the hobby, like whenever we started doing this. It was 59 in 2019 and 55 last year, or in 2020. And it keeps getting better and better. This isn't one of those that I keep thinking my mouse was moving because you were slowly. I was like, what is happening? So yeah, this is known for being a brutally difficult cooperative game. I find it, I mean, it is hard, but I have a great time playing it every single time, and that is Robinson Caruso. Oh, this is actually a different piece of art. I haven't seen this one. This is a cool one. Yeah, maybe this is the collector's edition.
Maybe.
So I actually recently played this. I redid it for the channel. They have a horror mode. I tried giving that a shot. It's not amazing. I think just doing the regular scenarios are going to be the best way to go about it. I'm super excited for the collector's edition, because that's going to just make it way more streamlined. Everything will be, succinct into one box. It's going to look sexy. It's going to have one booklet of scenarios ranging from difficulty, which is huge because one of these games, or one of the problems with this game, is that the first scenario is not the one you should start with because it is very difficult. So by them having that where you can go to the first page and be like, oh, let's do this one because it's going to be easier, and then you do the harder ones. This one is just super good. Like you have, it's kind of programming in a sense where everyone has like 2 colored discs that represent their worker, and you can have, you can divide them up as you see fit. You can have, 2 people go building, and that'll guarantee that you'll succeed, but you're getting less actions that you need to do, and efficiency is key in this game. So you can split up and try and succeed at many things, but then you do run the risk of rolling dice or having an event. It works for me. Like, I can see why some people might be turned off from it. The theme doesn't do it a whole lot for some people, but if you're looking for a thematic, difficult co-op, Robinson Crusoe is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, and this is one that I have yet to play, but I just recently bought it, so it could be one that could hit my top 100 because I know it's a lot of people play it solo a lot and stuff. So
yeah,
it'll be a good one to try out.
Yeah, I could see this being pretty good solo because you don't really have to worry about like a bunch of different rules for different players. Like, yeah, the characters have special abilities, but it's not that complicated. So yeah, it's my number 50.
All right. So my number 50 has been on my list kind of since the beginning as well. A couple of years ago, it was 41. Last year, it was 39. This is the one that has fallen a little bit. And that is
Seasons. Is this because we finally replayed it and I kicked your ass? Was that?
No. It's still my top 50, so still solid.
True.
This is one that my wife still enjoys a lot, and they've just got so many cards out for this game with if you throw the expansions in and everything, and there's so much replayability with this game because of all the card interactions and the card drafting at the beginning that you get to do, and the dice selection. There's a lot of strategy to this game, whether you want to speed up time, slow down time, engine building. I mean, there's just a lot of different mechanics in this game. Plus it's a pretty game on the table with and you have these big dice and all that stuff. I mean, you play through 3 years. Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah.
And the trick of it when you are drafting your cards on this one, you have to think ahead because you only have access to your cards during those years. Like you have to pick 3 cards that are you won't get until the 3rd year, 3 that you don't get the 2nd year. So you have to it just adds some more complexity to it. This is one of those that was very innovative at the time, and there hasn't been a whole lot come out similar to this.
Came out 10 years ago.
Yeah, so I mean, it's still a really. I know a lot of people still enjoy this game, but yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple game. I mean, actually, well, take that back. There's a lot of the card stuff because it reminds me of Magic a lot. The cards are a lot of the cards get pretty complex. But what they've done good in this is they actually have the cards numbered. So if you're playing with newer people or whatever, they'll say use cards 1 through 42 or whatever when you're drafting, and that way it's more simpler cards, so you don't have to dig into
which is cool.
Yeah. So I mean, they've taken their time to do that to make it good. But I mean, some of those cards in the higher levels with the expansions get nasty and they're difficult, and I almost get that vibe of after playing Res Arcana some more.
I was about to make that comparison. It kind of does have that feel,
right? After playing that a second time, I can see where this kind of is similar because a lot of those cards, they chain off of each other, and you're building resource, and stuff like that. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff with this game. It's an older game, but it's probably always going to be in my top 100 because it actually gets played and is enjoyable. But yeah, that's my 50 seasons.
Yeah, prior to us replaying it, it probably would have been one of the worst games I had played, but I gave it another shot years later as I got back into Magic in that, that time gap. This is pretty solid. I mean, 10-year-old game still holds up. I don't know if I would ever want to play this with more than 2. I like the head-to-head kind of battle, and the cards that we happen to play with, I was like, well, I mean, I don't really see you can kind of attack each other, but it is all about that engine building, and it works. Granted, at this point, I'd rather just play Res Arcana because it kind of has that same vibe, but this is, of course, different enough that they're not a 1-to-1.
Yeah, and the thing is I agree with the 2-player thing, but when you're picking cards to draft, you probably ought to look, because there's some of those cards that come out that are pretty much worthless in a 2-player game, because some of them, those attack cards come out and they're steal 2 resources from each player. Well, if you only get it from 1 player, it's not really worth the cost. It's so you could, if you took the time, select the right cards to draft from, so you don't have to deal with it. But yeah,
that's true. All right, good deal. My number 49 was number 4 in 2019, and then 21 in 2020. So it has fallen quite a bit. I think this is mainly due to it not getting played as much, even though I believe I played it last year. But this one is still an extremely solid game. And another version of it has actually been made, but it was actually earlier on my list. So I still like this one better. It's still a 10 out of 10 game. It's extremely solid. And it'll be interesting to see how both of them kind of move as the years go on. And it is Dinosaur Island. I can't remember if you had already mentioned this game, maybe not.
Mm,
But
I can look real quick.
but this one, whenever it came out, this kind of for me put Pandasaurus on the map and has realistically kept them there. Like it's Pandasaurus and their best games are dinosaur themed. The Mind is by them, which is fun, but not in my top 100. And pretty much this and Dinosaur World are to me their best games. At least some of them anyway. But yeah,
It was my 95.
okay. I thought it was still on your list,
Yeah.
but damn, I didn't know it was that far back. Um, but yeah, so this is making your own dinosaur theme park. This I don't know. I think you can own island and world, but if someone were to be like, I can only pick one, or if someone were to make the argument, you should only own one, I'd be like, yeah. Like I wouldn't, fight with them and argue. I don't know. I mean, obviously this is higher, so this is what I would pick, but they're both extremely good. I think it's just kind of like how you're going to go about it. Dinosaur World, you kind of you have your big park and you have like a top-down view of the park and you do tours through it. And then this one, you are actually responsible for like building like the sections of the park, like with the rides and then putting the paddocks and getting those dinosaurs in there. And then, getting income from guests. It's just kind of like, it seems more micro with Dinosaur Island, more macro with Dinosaur World, which makes sense. But um, I don't know. I have a hard time. Like Dinosaur World was, I think in the last, yeah, it was 50. It was 59. It was
Yeah.
literally 10 spots behind. So yeah, they're really close, but this one is very, very good. I will say I think I prefer the cover of Dinosaur World more than this one because for some reason every single time I always think that the T-Rex, that pink T-Rex, is two gorillas. Like from a side view, like side view of the gorilla, like that's their eye, and then like that little bump on the left is their nose. I'm like, that's just how I see it. But then I'm like, oh no, it's a front view of the T-Rex. I don't know. But yeah, that's my 49 Dinosaur Island.
Yeah, and this one I like this one too. I think it just fell that this year because I haven't played it
Hmm.
hardly at all, so that's why it kind of slipped. I'm sure it'll be around if I was playing it.
Right.
All right, so my number 49 is a game that you absolutely hate.
Okay.
And it went from 81 2 years ago to 63 last year, and now obviously to 49.
And now it's 49 just to spite me. I get it.
No, I've actually played this a few times with a couple other groups after playing it with you and Kat. And this is one of my favorite take that games where you are just
Oh,
and conniving and all that stuff to each other, and you can lie as much as you want and all that stuff. And that is Spartacus.
boo, boo. Horrible cover. Get the new cover. Horrible show.
So anyway, this game, it's just one of those games like when you have a group of people and you're playing it, and this is a good one to just be you're sitting there drinking beer, you're sitting there playing. I mean, it's something you just kind of play for fun. It's not super serious game. You get to screw with people, you can lie, and all the while you're gathering up your gladiators or slaves or whatever, to do different things, and it all comes down to at the end of each round. There's a lot of betting in this game, so you wager money to see who's running the game, the battle, and then they actually get to select who goes into the battle, and you're getting points for this and that. You win depending on what kind of a game, because you can choose if it's a long game, short game, medium game. You're getting influence, and that's kind of your winning condition. Once you get a certain number of influence, at the end, you're that at the end of the round, then you win. But there's all kinds of different ways you can bet on a fight, whether you think the person's going to get decapitated, injured, who's going to win, who's going to lose. There's so much openness to this game, and then you're rolling fistfuls of dice and all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff with this game, and like I said, it's not a serious style game. If you go into it serious, there could be a lot of butt hurt, I guess, or stuff like that, just because you're going to get screwed in this game. I mean, that's the name of the game. And art or not, I mean, I liked the show. It was all right. So I don't mind this, but the new version is pretty much the same game. They've just lowered down the mature content on it, but it's
yeah, it definitely seems like it.
Yeah, it's the same game though. So there's a couple expansions out for it that adds more dominus that you can take control of. They each have a special power. You have cards that can block attack cards towards you. So you have those as well. There's a lot of dice rolling. This is as Ameritrash as it gets. I mean, there's so much just randomness and so much stuff with this. But like I said, going into it with that kind of mindset, it's a blast of a game, and it usually ends with a stand-up dice roll moment at the very end when you're battling it out for the finale.
Yeah, totally stand-up moment.
Yeah, the most of the time.
All right, my number 48 is new to the list. It is it the highest? Hold on, give me 2 seconds. No, it is not. Okay. I don't have a segue into that. I will say it is a radically different game from this one. Like, you couldn't have two polar opposites. My number 48 is Vinos. Specifically the deluxe edition, because that's all that I have, because I'm just better than everyone. No, that's just what I happen to get. Pretty much with every Vital Sparta game, I'm just like, hey, I want the best of the best. This is it's kind of like, you have viticulture, of course, whenever you're dealing with talk about like wine games. It's that one and this one. Viticulture is kind of like, hey, there's vineyards around, we're making wine, we're selling it, we're showcasing it to people, or selling orders. Yeah, this is fun. And Vinos is like, you want to run a business? Like, do you want to actually feel like you're running like a vineyard industry? Because this one is a very heavy, this is one of those, like, that's tied for On Mars and Lisboa and CO2 in terms of complexity with his other ones. It's definitely heavier than Escape Plan and oh god, the other one, the Gallerist. So basically in this, you are you're opening up different types of vineyards in different locations around the world. Those will give you kind of different qualities or different benefits. Like if you go to I'm just looking at a few pictures just to get some reference. If you go to Dow, I'm guessing what it's called, that gives you a cellar an extra cellar to house your wine. You have to age your wine just as much as like you have to in viticulture. This one has like a section that in the how to play video and even in the rule book, you need to really understand it, because you have to understand like the quality of your wine as well as like the region it came from and things like that to be able to sell your wine. And kind of how much it's worth and how far it's going to go, opening up different types of vineyards that are for red or white wine, hiring workers that go there, and that will increase the quality of your wine. Having certain wines that you're going to take to a competition that will get you victory points and prestige as being like the best vineyard. It's extremely good. Like it's a very, very solid like worker placement Beetle game. Like this is one of those that whenever whenever I was playing it, that Cat actually very much enjoyed, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'll play this again." Versus a lot of his games that people are like, "Yeah, I think I'm good. I don't want to. I don't want to try these." I would say though, give every one of his games a shot at least, just so you know. But yeah, if and I do own both. I own this one and Viticulture because they do play radically different, even though they are the same theme. I for years I was like, well, I have Viticulture, why would I need this? Which is a valid, thought process. However, they do play completely different, even though just like the air of theme is similar. So that's my number 48, Vinos.
Yeah, I'll just play Viticulture.
Well, that's because you're closed-minded.
Yeah. No, I haven't really. I've never played a Vital game, so I don't.
This is not one I would open up. Like I wouldn't be like, oh, you've never played any of his games, Vinos. Like I would probably do Escape Plan or Gallerist, which is about art. But then this one would probably come third if I had to guess. I think Lisboa might be a little bit more complex, but this one and Lisboa are pretty similar in difficulty. And then actually I probably would do CO2 first because it's cooperative.
Right.
But yeah.
You did that one. All right. Well, my number 48 is new to the list. And I want to say you've already talked about this one. This one was one that when it got announced, there was a lot of hype or complaining about because of how much it cost and everything for what you got. And we had a conversation about it, making it like, I was like, I'm not going to buy that, blah, 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 for $180.
Right.
But anyway, it's like when you can buy it from the online retailers for like 130 something, then it's like, oh, I'll give it a shot. So Descent
right,
Legends,
it's a little bit more justified.
right. So Descent Legends of the Dark. This is one that I've kind of just scratched the surface on. I've only played a few of the scenarios as of right now. But it's really cool. Like I've played the other Descents in the past. This one, the app is awesome for it.
It's so good.
Having
because it enhances the game. It doesn't take away from the game.
Right. Right. And this one was like, because it was like the app that came out for the second edition was like trying to turn a one versus many into a cooperative game after it was already made. They went into this one, okay, this is a cooperative game, cooperative app, let's go, and they build it from that. But the 3D cardboard stuff is, you would think would be kind of like weird, but it looks really cool on the table.
Yeah, it does.
And I mean, it was a lot of punching and a lot of assembly, but
but they did I know Fantasy Flight is usually just complete dog shit whenever it comes to their inserts. They actually did a pretty decent job with this one. They didn't like give you all the stacks of cardboard, then it's like give you that much storage. They actually gave you it's basically an empty box to store it in, and everything else sits on top of it.
Yeah, and I'm kind of hoping that that magical Act 1 that's down in the back right corner, I'm kind of hoping that they come out with a cheaper Act 2 and 3 and just kind of build on, since the app's already out, but we'll see. But no, I kind of like the mechanics of this one too, because you have the freedom. You can interact with the terrain. You can use that one action that lets you flip your hero or some other cards that get you new abilities and stuff. I mean, there's just a lot of neat stuff with this. It just makes this so much better than the other Descent games. And for as a solo player, I mean, this one is super to play. I run 2 heroes, solo. And I've had a blast so far, and that's why it's this high. I mean, if I had played it more, it may have even been higher. It's just
Yeah.
it just depends on where or how you go at it. But
Yeah,
I mean, this was kind of a home run, surprisingly, after all the
it
trash.
really was. It made my, I think man, I'd have to, double check, but I'm pretty sure it made my top 10 of the year.
I think
Let
so.
me
I think
find
it
it.
made both of ours.
Yeah, number 5 is
Yeah.
what it was. Like, and that's coming from I hated second edition. Like, without a doubt, it almost very nearly caused me to not even get into this hobby. And so when this was announced, I'm like, Fantasy Flight, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm like, you used to be at the top and now you're at the bottom. And then I was like, you know what? I need the games that came out this year. I'll just pay for it and get it, and started doing it as a series. And I'm like, oh my God, is this good? So so yeah, now and that's what I'm saying is like all the fiddly shit. This is definitely a modern game that other games can learn from. Like we talked about, I think when you mentioned folklore, it's like, oh my God, if folklore was like this, take this game, but folklore theme, it'd be so good.
Yeah.
It'd be amazing. Cause you could do that. Like you could do this as, cause folklore has like the skirmishes and then but then they also do Journeys in Middle Earth, which has like the skirmish battles a little bit, like the different, it's like, hey, here's your big map one, but then here's like the only 2 board, ones where it's just kind of a small thing.
Right.
So here's hoping that this kind of sets the bar, because Fantasy Flight and Descent did it right, whereas Lucky Duck and Destinies did it wrong.
Yep. Exactly.
So, all right, my number 47 went up. It was 86 last year, and I could not tell you why it went up so much, except just as I guess I was comparing them, I kept picking this one because we do the Pub Meeple like ranking system, which is a godsend at this point, because I'd probably never do a top 100 again if I had to do index cards. But this one came as a surprise because I remember backing it on Kickstarter, and then when it showed up, I was like, oh, it's a one versus many, because sometimes I just back games because they look cool and then I hope.
Right.
And so whenever I played it, and I was like, oh man, this is actually a really good one versus many. It feels so balanced. There's so much strategy here, and it is Dark Rituals Malleus Maleficarum. That, it was probably not how that was pronounced. This is actually about witches. Like it comes off, it's a dark gothic, like where witches are the ones that are like summoning things, and it's all these old crusader type, heroes like that are going out to kill them. Like I said, this is it's a one versus many, and it's one of those games where the many, and this is a system I very much enjoy, where how many actions the many do gives the one person more to do. And I think that's a brilliant back and forth, because it's like, oh man, we as the players can do this really badass maneuver. Oh, but that's gonna give him, so much actions. Like that's gonna end.
It's kind of like level 7.
Yeah. Which level 7 was really good. It was just clunky.
Right.
In fact, whenever I first played it, one of the guys, Devin, he's consistently on the channel. He still brings that game up every now and then, and we played it like twice. And he's like, "I really liked it." I'm like, "It was good. I don't know why I got rid of it." But I did, and I have this one. So, yeah, essentially, what makes this really, really neat is they have, I mean, of course, you have your scenarios, and then you have your, your minis and things like that. And the minis are sexy as hell. They're super cool. But the depth of this game is your heroes have like stamina, and that's kind of how much that they're allowed to do. So they have to rely heavily upon that, but they also have like I don't want to say spell books. I don't think they're spell books. I believe they're alchemical books. That if they can get certain ingredients from finding them on the map, it gives them a huge buff. And then there's also kind of like a skill tree that they have for special abilities, which gives each character depth in what they're doing instead of just being like, oh, like we just talked about Descent, second edition. That was one versus many at one point, and it was okay. Well, I'm a hero. I have an arrow. I have a bow and arrow, and that's it. That's second edition, not the new one. But this one, yeah, there's actually like trees, and just if you're playing one character, like that is your character, and you need to kind of focus. It's not like super like complex, like it's not like too many bones level or something with your own character. But it's like if you're a healer, well then be good about healing, because that's going to get you a long way. You don't have to, but that's kind of your role. And if you have every expansion like I do from the Kickstarter, then you are like there's a lot of options. I think one of the characters, I think his name is Gerald, not Geralt from The Witcher, but he's very much obviously him. And I think they had a few more kind of that were little nods. This theme is just super cool, never done. Like I never see it. It's always something else, but the fact that it was witches, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna have to look it up. I think the Malleus Maleficarum, I think it's literally a book about witches. Usually translated as the Hammer of Witches. It's about witchcraft. So it's super cool. I haven't played it like I think since I've done the recording, so it's been a year, so that's why I was so surprised it shot up. But this one blew me away. I know for a fact it was on the top 10 whenever I think of 2020. I wonder if I can find that. But yeah, that is my number 47, Dark Rituals, Malleus Maleficarum. They also, I think, had a Kickstarter, and this is one thing that made me really mad. They had some crossovers, like I think they had some with Madara and some other games, like Black Rose Wars and those kind. So some Kickstarter companies do that. They did that with Village Attacks as well, except you had to own Village Attacks to be able to utilize the stuff. And I'm like, that's really dumb. Yeah. Like, just give me the miniatures that are used in that game. I don't own Village Attacks. But I just thought that was kind of stupid. But
yeah, this one looks kind of interesting. I've heard you talk about it, but I've never messed with it.
Yeah, it's definitely not one you would own just because it can't be played solo.
Right.
But I think you would have a good time like playing it. Like, so yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find it for top. I don't think I have it anymore. So never mind. We'll just keep going.
All right. So my number 47 is on the other side of the spectrum. You know, this game was so dark and so, you know, sexy, overwhelming cover and all that stuff. Now we're going to go to a game that is very simple and very laid back and cute.
Okay.
And that is this one was 2 years ago was 62, then it was 49 last year, 47 this year, so it's about the same as last year. Yeah. This is just one of those mainstays. It was kind of the original micro game that kind of started that deal where it's just a 16 card deck, and you're playing until you're the last person that has a card in your hand. Different cards have different abilities that get rid of other cards, and pretty much on your turn you're always going to have one card in your hand. Once your turn, you're going to draw a card, then you're going to play a card, all in the intention of trying to get rid of other players. Or I guess there's that one card that's kind of like a shield, the handmade, that kind of goes out there and blocks you from being chosen. And the highest card is the princess, of course. So that one's kind of, if you have to get rid of that one, then you're out. So games play super fast. I mean, because you shuffle up the 16 cards, you take one card out of that deck, and nobody knows what that card is. And then everybody starts with the card, and then you just play until you're one. And when you're the person with the last card, you get a heart. depending on the player count. Usually with 4 players, I think you have to get like 3 or 4 hearts and then you win. And that's super simple. I've had multiple copies of this game.
Yep.
And there's been so many different themes thrown on this game. There's the newest one that I'm going to have to buy. That's just getting ready to come out. It's the Jabba's Palace,
Oh.
Jabba's Palace for Star Wars. That'll just be
Pretty
one
cool.
I'll have to have.
$100 that Slave Leia is number 8.
That'd be awesome. But
That would be, yeah. Ooh, I might have to order 2 copies.
yeah. Make sure and sleeve
Yeah.
them.
Ew.
But anyway, yeah, that's my 47. There isn't really a whole much more to really say about it. I mean, it's a small box game. There is a premium version of this that has tarot sized cards and multiple versions of each number. There's the Cthulhu version that's kind of the same thing, but
yeah, that's my preferred, is the Cthulhu one. It plays pretty much the exact same way, but there's more depth. So it depends on what you're wanting. If you're wanting definitely the filler kind of quick, mini game experience, definitely this one. If you're wanting kind of a more, not saying this isn't strategic at all, Love Letter is fantastic, but Lovecraft is, I guess, more complex, not necessarily more strategic. Because what's great about this one, even more so than the Lovecraft one, this one, as you play it more, it becomes more about not the game, but the players, because you start reading them a lot more. You can start card counting. You could start being like, I mean, you could theoretically just constantly, if you just happen to be like, he hasn't ever discarded that left card. $100, that's the princess, you can start reading. So it does allow for, it's like, yeah, it's a very simple game, but it starts becoming more strategic against the players. And Lovecraft Leather has that too, but there's a lot more variables than this one does. So yeah, no, good choice. My number 46 is new to the list. It is, so I told you I did my top 100 twice, right? The ranking. And just to kind of see how close they were, this game itself was the sole reason why I went with my first list and not the second one, because in the second one, this was at like number 9, and I'm like, oh hell no. Like, this game is fantastic, but there's no way it's in my top 10. So I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking. So this is a massive game. Like, there is a lot to it. It is pretty much pure Ameritrash, but in a theme that no one does, at least that I've seen, and they do it in a really, really good way, and that is Madara, Unintentional Malum, Act 1. And I know specifically, or I know for a fact that they are doing multiple acts. This is a massive game. There is so much in terms of story for this. Like, the storybook makes Gloomhaven look like it was for children. Like, you have all those scenarios that are in Gloomhaven 90 plus, and granted, while Gloomhaven I still haven't ever beaten, like, Madara just has way more going on because it's written to be that way. At the bottom, it says NDG. It's a narrative driven game. That is absolutely true. The book is so massive because, like, it is, there's a lot of text. So to put it in perspective, if you go onto Foreteller, Gloomhaven itself has 5 hours of voiceover for the scenario. Madara has 22 hours. But this is a JRPG, like, as a board game, like, which is Japanese role-playing game. You have these anime-esque kind of characters with, yeah, they're theoretical types of builds on kind of how they're going, but you are completely open into how you want to play them. One of the characters, his name is Rook. He dual wields 2 hammers. That's his art, and that's his character model. But you could make him a rogue if you want to. You have that absolute freedom. In fact, in the game, you could respec if you want to. You go through different scenarios, anime-esque, grandiose, big gods and stuff like that that'll eventually show up. where, yep, you're moving around a board. You have skills that allow you to do various skill checks. Like if you want to jump over a chasm, you have to use your agility and then roll dice. Has a really cool dice system that there are different colored dice, and so and on the back of the rule book it has like a tier list of, hey, here are the colors that are going to have the higher numbers. But instead of just numbers, they have symbols, and your cards have symbols on them. So if you're attacking something and your sword has two shield symbols, and that gives you +1 damage. If you roll 2 shield symbols, you spend those and then you get more damage. So the character creation is amazing. The foreteller app, I could not recommend high enough. I know we talk about that app a lot, but it's different in the audio recordings than what's written in the actual book. And it's better. It feels more natural than weeby and weird than how it was actually written. Because I remember I was trying to follow along in the book, and I'm like, where the hell am I? Because they were not saying the same thing. And then eventually it would catch up. But yeah, it's mainly in the dialogue. Like whenever the characters are talking in the audio, it feels more natural than just neck beard, weird, gross shit. And because they went JRPG, like I thought there was going to be every female has nipple tassels and here's your armor, it's a thong. They didn't do that. So I really have to commend them for not going that traditional route. Yeah, I mean, for pretty much everyone, like it can be kind of sexy, but it's not risque.
Right.
This one is just amazing. Like I have a blast. This is also a series that we're doing on the channel. But unfortunately, it does have a massive rule book, and they just actually released an updated one that if I take too long, it's the nitty gritty with every Ameritrash game. It's like, I understand the beats of kind of a round, and that has retained, but there are certain things that happen, like conditions and stuff, or very specific scenarios, and I'm like, I don't remember how that works, But yeah, this one is really, really cool. I'm very excited to see what they do for Act 2 and 3. Because I mean, they even say in the beginning of the game, because you could play dungeon crawl mode, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's not that great. And if you do the campaign, they're like, hey, by the way, this campaign is meant to be played once a week for a few hours for 6 months. And it's like, well, that'll never happen. But kind of if you're wanting a D&D game and you have time to dedicate, then that's going to be your D&D session. But what's also cool about the narrative campaign, and I don't know if Gloomhaven or others do this, I think Gloomhaven just has a finite end, but depending on decisions you make in Madara, the campaign can end immediately. Like there's various things that you could choose to do if you succeed or fail could cause the story to end prematurely. And also if you fail a scenario that doesn't end, you don't have to redo it. It's just like, oh, you didn't succeed on this one? Okay, read this paragraph and then go here, which I think is awesome. A lot of these games need to have that because I hate replaying.
Right.
So that's my number 6, Madara, Unintentional Malum, Act 1.
Yeah, this is one that I was interested in, but when the last Kickstarter came out back in the day, it was so expensive to get into that I just didn't do it. And of course, I say this going into 615 before shipping on this new Marvel Zombies stuff. But
and that's the thing is like, I think for everything for this was 500,
right?
Something around there, like for all future acts and stuff. And it's like, well, KDM is 400 for the base game. So
yeah,
like you definitely get your money's worth out of this. It's like,
yeah,
this is more of a lifestyle game than KDM is. So, but I'm tired of talking about Kingdom Death. So.
Yes, agreed. All right. So my number 46 is a game I think you liked. You thought it was a good game. It wasn't your greatest favorite game in the world, but I think you liked it.
Okay.
It is part of the Renegade Games solo series. So Proving Grounds would have been the original one. There's a new one that's coming to Kickstarter next week called Wasteland Riders, I think. That's going to be part of the solo series. Wreckland Run. That's what it was, Wreckland Run. But
You were not even close.
no,
What
I
the
know.
hell is
I had to look at
Wasteland
it 'cause
Riders?
Wreckland Run. It's like a post-apocalyptic, like Mad Max kind of solo
Yeah.
on the game. But anyway, this one is Warp's Edge.
Yeah, no, this one is really good.
Yeah.
I
This-
played this one and then Under Falling Skies, and I was like, well, I'm not a solo gamer, but I'm gonna pick Under Falling Skies.
yeah. So this one, I guess technically is new to my list. I mean, I had made it, and this was 125 last year.
Oh,
So
okay.
so it jumped up 79 spots, just because I'd actually got to play it more. This I enjoy bag building games.
Mhm.
And then this does that. I like the theme of it and how you all the different motherships are completely different. So you have all these different ways of attacking and doing your ship stuff and everything. And it's just there's just a lot with this game that just is it's just fun. It's a good solo deal like that. Like after playing Proving Grounds, and it was okay. I mean, it was very, very basic. This one blew it out of the water. And from everything I'm hearing, this new one that's coming to Kickstarter is even better than this one. Like it's got a story campaign type stuff and everything with it.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see. But you know, that just I don't know, the organization they have for this game is cool. The color schemes they have, having the Kickstarter edition, having those nice plastic tokens already in the box instead of having to go get Geek Up bits to upgrade it and all that crap.
Yeah.
And everything. This is just I'm happy that Renegade Games, they were kind of one of the first companies to really jump into. They got ahead of the curve on the solo series.
Yeah.
I know they didn't have the biggest hit right off the bat because that came out. Proving Grounds was a 2019 game, and so they're like, we're going to start this solo series. And Proving Grounds came out, you know, and then this, and it sounds like they're really putting their foot in, going all in on the solo stuff, and they're putting out good stuff now.
Right.
But yeah, this
Yeah,
one's
this
just
one had that like the unique setup where it's kind of like a story. And you make like 3 decisions. It's like more just a glamored up setup instead of being like, oh, pick your ship, pick your enemies. Like, I like that they had the narrative tell to it. Granted, I wanted the main character to die. I'm like, dude, you're like a piece of shit. You left your entire like squad. It's like you don't deserve to escape. But no, this one was really cool. The bag building was neat. Like you had pretty much free reign in how you wanted to upgrade your bag to fight the various alien monsters that you needed very specific icons to it was a puzzle, and I liked it. I was thoroughly impressed with that because Proving Grounds was horrid. It was a horrid game.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of their learning thing, because I think there was a lot of hype for it because it was a solo game, and then it kind of got those meh deals. So then I think they put more time into these, because the cleverness of this one about, the popping back to the beginning, and you have all your stuff still and everything. It's kind of neat how you're almost Groundhog Daying it a little bit. But
yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah, because it was like some tech that the ship had.
Right.
It was like a premonition, almost like, oh, hey, by the way, if you do that, you'll die.
Right. And if you like this game or you're a fan of this game, if you back the Wreckland Run Kickstarter, there's an expansion coming with it for this.
Oh, cool.
As well. So anyway, just as a heads up.
Is it, what the hell is it called? Wreckland? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to look it up. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I think it's February 8th, I want to say, is the Kickstarter.
Okay. Yeah, I might have to keep an eye on that. That cover looks pretty neat. Looks comic booky.
Yeah, and apparently it's very, very narrative, this version, from what I've been hearing. So it'll be, you get to upgrade your vehicle. It's like all these things trying to take you out. You're trying to escape everything.
Scott Alms is man, he's one of those hit and miss designers for me.
Right.
Like he has no in between. It's either I hate his games or I really like his games. There's no like, that's all right. Like Warp's Edge, I do really like. I just don't willingly go out and play solo games. But then his like Tiny Epic series, I'm
Yeah,
like, God, these all suck.
yeah.
I do want to
Everybody.
give, sorry, I
Right.
was gonna say I do want to give Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea another shot. Because it's been I played it with 3, and I feel like it needs to be played with not 3.
We played it. That one I really enjoyed playing it with 5 or 6,
Yeah.
but it was just kind of one of those that there's a lot of stuff to that game and everything. But anyway, the a lot of the reviewers that love this game that I've gotten preview copies of the Recland Run love Recland Run way more than even this one. So that's what has me
Okay.
kind of excited, just to see what happens. But yep, this is my 46 Warp's Edge.
All right. My number 45 is it went up from last year. It was number 68, so it went up significantly. This is mainly due to just frequent plays, and actually the moving up 22 spots is justified because I just got its expansion and I've played its expansion multiple times. The review for the expansion should be coming up at some point, but that is The Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Yes.
So this one came came out and a lot of people were talking about it. Like it was difficult to get a copy of it at one point just because it was sold out everywhere because everyone wanted it. Luckily, I was one of those that was able to get a copy. But if you're not aware, this is one of those that is a combination of worker placement and deck building, which to my knowledge wasn't done before. And if it wasn't done well. And then this and Dune Imperium came out. And I like this one better than Dune Imperium, but some of my other friends like Dune Imperium more. So to each their own, like pick one and you'll probably have a good time either way. But this one, you only have 2 workers and so whenever you're going to those spots, a lot of efficiency comes from the way that you deck build, getting free actions that then allow you to get gold or exploration so that whenever you have those resources to then when you do spend your workers to go somewhere, you're a lot more efficient at doing so instead of wasting them to go get you 2 gold. It's like, oh, okay, well, this free action card gives me 2 gold, so I'll just spend that and then I can go do what I really want to. The main draw of Lost Ruins is the research track. Like that is where a significant portion of your game is going to go. And it makes thematic sense that that's what you're here to do. You're explorers. So then like everyone should be competing to go up on the research track. It pretty much, I think, is proven that if someone makes it to the top of the research track and you don't touch it at all, you're probably not going to win. But if no one goes up on the research track, then various methods could cause you to be victorious. The expansion Expedition Leaders is really good. I don't think it's a necessity, but if you really like Lost Ruins, then at that point, I would say it's a must. Just get it because individual player powers and individual decks, like starting decks, is always a good thing, in my opinion.
Doesn't it alter the research track some too?
Yeah, there's actually 2 new research tracks.
Yeah.
So you have 4 total, which is once again, because Lost Ruins is so focused on the research track, playing the base game a lot, if you do play it a lot, can make it kind of samey. The expansion is definitely a breath of fresh air because now you have 4 options. The 2 research tracks are really neat in the expansion, and the player powers are really, really cool. Not 100% like asymmetric. I mean, they are asymmetric. No one can do the same thing, but it's not like Root where it's like, this is all I can do. Like, this is who I am. If you're playing like the main guy, I think he's the captain. He has a 3rd worker. He's the easiest to play, but he has a 3rd worker and he could use a worker to use the top ability of a silver assistant that's available. That's just kind of one of his special actions. Very simple to play. But other than that, I mean, if someone is if like if someone's going to go an artifact route and buy a bunch of artifacts, he's not prevented from doing that. Everyone can still do what they want to do, but others can just do something a little bit different. Still, definitely a step in the right direction because this game, I think, just and gets enhanced by any type of expansion. I think that I hope that they end up doing at least one more just to kind of, I still want this game to be a little bit more complex than it is, but maybe that's just not what they're going for.
Have you ever tried the other side of the board?
The snake,
the one that's more blank, yeah. And
I
stuff.
have not. Funny
I
enough,
haven't
I've tried
either.
3 of the 4 tracks.
Yeah, I haven't tried the back side of the board to see how much that changes anything to see.
Right.
But the
If
thing
it's
about
anything like, the research tracks from the expansion, the tracks are different, but it doesn't make the game feel different. If that helps. Like,
well, I just didn't know if it would add more complexity to the other side. I wasn't sure because I'd never messed with it.
Because one of the expansion tracks basically adds an artifact row, like a card gets placed on it, and then whenever you get to that spot, you activate the artifact, and then you kind of go on. You have to split, like the left side your magnifying glass has to go, and then the right side your notebook has to go, and then the other side has a guardian, and the guardian has to be defeated before anyone can advance.
Gotcha.
And then the point spread is different, and like, yeah, there's different types of benefits you get for going up on the track, but ultimately I wasn't sitting there playing base game Lost Ruins and then playing with the expansion. I was like, oh my god, I have to play radically. You really don't.
Right. Well, the thing is like CGE has become one of those companies that I'll always look at their game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they aren't all super. I mean, the Diablo one we played,
Sanctum,
yeah, I mean that was meh. And so, but
yeah,
but what I
mean, it wasn't bad. It felt like Diablo, but once we were done, I was like, okay, I think I'm done.
Yeah, I think the thing with CGE though, and especially with this game, is they support it with online content. Like having the solo campaign thing that they put out and all that stuff for this has been like, it's just, I wish more companies would do stuff like that. And it's free content too. They just throw it out there.
That's true. And the solo for Lost Ruins is so good.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's really good.
They've done stuff with that. They even had the Sanctum stuff, for online. They've done stuff online with a lot of things. It's it's just
that you have to do it yourself. You have to print it off, and if it's like I mean, yeah, but I didn't pay them $60 to print off shit.
Well, right, but
pay
it's
for
also
my ink as well.
It's also free content too. I mean, they could be boxing it up and selling it. So I mean, it's kind of a
right. But it's like, just include, like, my thing is like if they're like Sanctum, for example, and why not just release multiple like bosses? Like, if you're gonna go the Diablo route, make it to where you're playing. I mean, obviously you don't have to do the IP, but be like, how about I get a different baddie at the end instead of it being the demon, instead of, because Sanctum would have been amazing if there was life to it, but once I was done, I'm like, it's kind of like, oh, I played until the first boss in Diablo and I guess that's it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not shitting on CGE. Their games are always fantastic. I mean, we did top 10 publishers and I'm pretty sure they were on it.
I think so. Yeah.
But Lost Ruins is really, really good. Currently off of the Dice Tower's People's Choice list, I think this was number 9 and Dune Imperium was 11. They were very close to one another, but this one still edges it out.
I haven't played Imperium yet. I need to, but
it's good. Don't get me wrong. Like, Dune Imperium is good. I don't like the theme, so that kind of doesn't do it for me. But also, it's very tight.
Yeah.
Like, this one in Lost Ruins, if someone takes a spot, you're not like, well, great, what do I do now? You're still pretty much able to kind of do it. Dune Imperium, I cannot tell you how many times I needed like 1 water and someone took the only spot with water, and I'm like, okay, well, I can't do anything now,
Yeah.
So
no,
anyway,
we'll see if this is on my list anywhere. I'm not sure.
Cool. All right, good deal.
All right. All right. My number 45 is a game that I know you own. I don't think you've played it yet. But it's been really consistent for me. It was 45 2 years ago. It was 47 last year, and it's 45 this year. So it's just right where it's at. This is a very, very beautiful dice placement Euro game with a unique winning condition, and that is Rajas of Ganges.
It is currently on my shelf.
Yep. This is, and I usually play this one about once a year. It seems like that's really all I can get it to the table. But it's just such a fun experience when you do, just because it has that. It's worker placement. You know, you're placing dice as well. It's very beautiful with the colorful, translucent dice and everything. But the thing that makes this game unique at the time, there's been a couple of other games I think that have tried taking this deal, is the scoring track goes both ways. There's a I think it's fame and money, or riches, whatever. So if you decide, hey, I'm going to try to become the richest person, well, you go around that side of the track and your fame won't go up. But if you want to become famous, you make that one go up, and maybe your money's not. The way you win the game is if you're the first person to where those two cross over. As soon as those cross over, whoever does that first wins the game. Just
Nice.
like, so you can go one way or the other, or you can get a mix and do that. So, and really it's almost kind of a hidden version of a racing game in a way. You're racing to get those two tracks to overlap. But on the table, this game is gorgeous. It's so much color in there and everything, and the way that when you get the dice out and stuff. This is just one. I know they've come out with a dice version of this game. I haven't played that one. There's really no need at this point. This one is a super good game. It has the designers, Inca and Marcus Brand, have done a lot of cool stuff.
They did the Exit series, but I know I think they did
They've done another bigger game, haven't they?
Rise of Queensdale. I think that was them. Yep, Inca. Yeah, that was a legacy Euro game, Rise of Queensdale, that came out 2018.
This is just one of those games. If you're at a game store and somebody's playing this and you walk by, it draws your attention to it. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. I mean, if you haven't played it, this is definitely one to go with, because it's a winner.
Yeah, I'm sure I would like it. It's definitely on my shelf. I just need to buckle down and get those played. I still have Coliseum on there.
I know. That's you've had that one over there for a long time.
Yeah, like it's been on that shelf for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
what's
that's a
wrong
fun
with
one
me?
too.
Yeah, so that dual track system is always really interesting. Like Merchants of the Dark Road does that, except it's not so much of having the meat, it's whatever, because you have your prestige and you have your money, and whichever one is lowest is your base score, and then you add victory points to that. So for example, if we're on prestige and I'm like 10 points above you, but my prestige is my lowest one, I'm probably winning, because like I'm higher than you off of that track, unless you're getting a bunch of victory points to add to it. But victory points are few and far between in that game.
Right.
So yeah, the dual track system I think is always neat. All right, my number 44 is one of the ones that fell on my list. It was 47 in 2019, and it was 29 in 2020. And this is my other wine game, and that is Vinos again. No, Viticulture. So this one apparently is actually about to get an expansion in this year. Yeah, I was surprised because I saw it on the Stonemeyer track whenever they announced their Libertalia sequel or re-release. It was on their list of games they're doing. Yeah, apparently they're doing an expansion. But anyway, Viticulture obviously is higher than Vinos, mainly because it has the depth of gameplay and it's just not as complex. Don't get me wrong, obviously I love Vinos. It's really good, but if I'm looking to casually play a wine game, this is the one I'm going to be bringing out because it's easier to teach and easier to play. This one has your standard worker placement where you have this is also, yeah, essential edition, including Tuscany and all that stuff, because I have to have all that. Like I probably wouldn't ever play this without all 4 seasons.
Right.
So yeah, you have a certain number of workers that you kind of have to prep because there's 4 seasons, and certain seasons allow you to do various things. The spring and summer are where you're getting visitors and where you can, start planting your grapes. The fall and winter, you are delivering the orders of what you harvested in the earlier in the year, and winter is kind of whenever you're prepping for all that, because you can't like make grapes and all that. So it's really, really good. I think the biggest complaint with a lot of people are that the visitor cards can be broken. That hasn't ever really bothered me or shown up. Yeah, there's cards that you can draw that are like, oh man, lucky me. But that's everyone. Like, if everyone's just getting visitors and they're all beneficial to the person who happens to get it, then they can't be broken. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't played it quite enough to be like, oh, that card is like a deal breaker. But like, if someone gets a banker who shows up and gives them 10 gold or whatever, it's like, damn, yeah, I wish I could have that. Oh, wait, I got this person who fulfilled 3 of my orders or whatever it could be. It's like all the cards are good. There's a small area control thing as one of the expansions, like of where you're selling your wine. That's fine. There's been other small games that do that where it's kind of its own thing. This one just is a very, very solid worker placement. This was one of the first that included like Grande worker that introduced bumping,
Yes.
which is now, in their other game, Charterstone has bumping, but like, yeah, at the time this came out, that wasn't even heard of. Oh, I place a worker, I blocked it. It's like, oh, well, I have one guy who he doesn't bump, but he can go where someone else has already gone. And so that's just huge. So yeah, this one is very, very good. Don't mind the art for it. I think it's fine. And I don't know if I ever did the solo for this.
The solo is nice.
Yeah, I've heard it's good. It was the first one that they did.
Yeah.
But I've heard it is really good. So yeah, that's my number 44, Viticulture.
Good choice. At least you put that one in front of the other wine one.
I did. I had to.
Yeah.
And it'll probably stay that way. Like Vinos is new, but they're really close. They're literally in the same top 10.
Right.
But for different reasons.
All right. So my number 44, I can't remember if you've said this yet or not, or if it's even in your top 100, but this was a new one to my list. It's an AEG game. It is a racing game through and through, but it also is it's a dice, I guess, drafting, I guess, in a way. You're buying dice. And you're just racing around little boards with nice little cute little square QB looking things.
I was like, dude, I have no idea what you're talking about. Cubitos was my number 70.
Okay.
Damn, that's really high for you.
Yeah, I really I've played it a lot. I've gotten this to the table quite a bit with different people, and the more I play it, it's just the smartest thing that they did with this game was putting out that stack of cards for each dice, because there's so many different ways that the dice can be played with those cards, so they just pretty much you have a stable of dice that you start with, and you're gonna roll these dice, and they may only have something. The basic dice, I think, only have something on one side of the dice, and you roll these and you place them and stuff. But so there's the push your luck version, because if you ever roll and don't have anything on all the dice, then you get kind of hosed and you bust, I guess, for all intents and purposes. but you get currency, you get movement, so you're racing around this little board. If you land on a particular spot that has something, you can gain that. You buy stuff, buy more dice to enter into your pool, which will, depending on what card is chosen, have different abilities, and more faces on their dice are taken or covered. And you're also getting fans that let you on that fan track that you
Yeah.
can move up on as well. The one thing I think the core game comes with 4 tracks.
Yeah.
I don't
so.
think this game needs more cards necessarily, because they do have a good amount of cards and the replayability.
Right.
I think the one thing that they need to do for this game is release more tracks.
Yeah.
Do kind of like Downforce style, release just the track packs,
Yeah.
just add more, because they have so many. I can't even remember. Is it like maybe 7 or 8 cards per color that they already have right now?
I think it was like 8, and there's
Yeah,
like
so
6 colors.
yeah, and they're just so
6 or 8
different,
colors.
and stuff that it's just it was a unique game. The cover is just, it is what it is.
It's
I mean,
weird.
it's catching, like the color scheme, it catches your eye, but it's still
Mhm.
strange. The dude needs to shave his legs or something. They even went to that, like they did the detail with that, and he has these hairy ass legs. But yeah,
Yeah,
this one is
I don't get it, man. He has human legs,
yeah.
and it's like, I don't know.
It's
Don't know
a
what
good
they were
thing that
thinking.
the thing with the gameplay is like, because you can only roll so many dice, so it's like you have to kind of, that's the trickiest part of the game when you're teaching people, is
Mhm.
knowing what zones to move the dice.
I think
And
that's what the fan track did. I think there was ways you could roll more dice.
well, the fan track gave you more stuff. Yes, you
Yeah.
got more dice to roll. I think it's the whatever that symbol was. I can't remember the symbol right off the top of my head,
Yeah.
but yeah, this was one that just kind of popped out of nowhere. Like it just showed up one time, and people started freaking
Mhm.
out over it and buying it. So I grabbed a copy real quick while they had them, and of course it's John D. Clare. I mean, this is, you think of some of the games that dude's put out, and this is not on that same track. It's like,
Not really. I mean, in terms of how many cards are in the game, like it's a lot for this
Right.
game,
right,
and so that checks out.
right. But just the
But
whole the card, I mean, he's just done some interesting games. Like this one, I would maybe put in the same line as like the Space Base and stuff, but
yeah.
stuff like that, as far as the complexity and stuff. But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty solid one. As of, I don't know where it'll be in years to come, but it's gotten played quite a bit this year, and so this is where it lands.
Sweet. All right, yeah, good choice. All right, my number 43 fell quite a bit. It was number 8 last year. This is mainly, it fell just because I haven't gotten it to the table, but as far as I can tell, just taking a quick scan, this is the highest of this company's games, and I think it is the best one. It's the one I'd be more willing to play over the other ones, and that is Street Masters. Woo!
Yes. New
Basically,
content coming soon.
yeah, and yeah, it should be coming relatively quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't believe, I know Ultra Quest didn't make it, and Brook City didn't either, because I just found out where it's at. So Ultra Quest and Brook City blacklist other games of that, what do they call it? I was gonna say
Modular deck
card,
system.
but yeah, their modular deck system. This one just does it a little bit better, like by having, the different fighters, the location, and the enemies, like the gangs that you're fighting. You basically just pick any mishmash of what you're wanting, and then you kind of fight. It's like it's scenario, because there's always 3. It's scenario, location, and gang.
Yep.
Because you willingly pick your heroes, and there's a bunch of them, especially if you have everything for it. This is easily their most successful game. But yeah, so everyone has their own unique deck depending on the fighter that they have. And it's just that modular deck system is so cool because you have virtually infinite replayability, because it's like, okay, well, we fought this boss before, but we haven't fought him at this location. So how will he, how will that work out? We haven't fought him in this scenario. This is very clearly supposed to be your Mortal Kombat or Street Fighters theme, and I think they do that really well. There's a lot of cool characters you can play as. I know there's a solo mode for this that I haven't tried yet, but that's supposed to be kind of like the adventure, like for video games, where it's like, oh, because I think every character has like a story.
They have a story,
like,
yes.
To them. Don't know how well that is done. It's probably just as good as every video game fighting story, like very lame.
And this is one that, I haven't played any of the stories either, but I just play this solo with 2 heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Just 2-hand it and play it that way.
Yeah. So, because I mean, you're utilizing, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but you're basically getting these tokens that allow you to build up and use your like ultra mode. Like everyone has like an ultra mode that's just an enhanced ability of themselves. Kind of like their games all play relatively the same, like they're in terms of like the round. So how you can play cards, you move around the grid, there is minis, and yeah, I mean, it's very thematic and could be really cool because there's a lot of like, one, for example, is if you're fighting one of the guys, I don't remember his name, but he uses weapons. Like he can like run to a weapon cache and pick out a rocket launcher, and you're just like, oh no, and then he blows you up. But also the bosses have minions and henchmen, that it's not just you versus the boss. It's not like a boss battler, but you have to defeat him to win. But in the meantime, he has snipers and he has thugs that are coming to fight you. This one's just really, really cool. Like Blacklist does a great job. I think Ultra Quest is still good. It's just slow. And Brook City does that beat cop 80s buddy cop theme really well also. It's just a little clunkier. This is definitely the cleaner of the 3. So hence why it's this high up on the list. And I need to get it played more because I guarantee you it would go, probably not top 10 again, but it would go up.
Yeah, this one is a great one. Like that time that we played, I like the character interactions, because I think when we played, you had that one character that was like the weapon smith.
Yeah, he was like the trainer.
Yeah, he kept like giving me weapons and stuff.
Right. Right. He was like your sensei. He's just like, all right, you're getting your ass kicked. Try this katana.
Right. Maybe it'll work against the guy with the bazooka.
It's like, can you give me a gun? I don't have any. Here's throwing knives. I fucking hate you.
No, this is really sweet. I love all the stuff that have to it, and then the expansion stuff that's coming is just going to add more and more to it and stuff. This is just a really sweet game.
Yeah.
And it may show up higher on my list.
Oh, it may? Okay, so probably not.
All right. So my number 43 is a game that at the time of the Kickstarter, people were kind of flipping out over it because of how beautiful it was and how the organization was. And it's still a super beautiful game. The gameplay is awesome with the worker placement. The theme is neat. And this was the first game that, the Kickstarters came out with those hardback books, the art books and stuff. And I actually kind of read through this one after hearing you talk about it.
Man, that's amazing.
And it kind of got me in, and it kind of got me into the world a little bit more. And that's Title Blades. This one was one that I love worker placement games, and I also like dice games. So this kind of combines both of those. Pretty much the theme of it is that you're a young person, and you guys are all competing to become the next Title Blade, which is these group of protectors. And so you're going around all these different arenas. You're gathering resources, you're building yourself up by because you have your own little dashboard that will only let you roll a certain number of dice or all this stuff, or have a certain number of cards. So you're trying to upgrade those so you can be more effective when you go into battle. So it kind of has a weird, like a semi-cooperative thing to it too with those monsters, because you're all kind of trying to keep yourself a little bit. I mean, it's very, very vague on the semi, but
yeah. It's more, it's not so much like, yeah, I guess that is what it would be, but it is more of like, hey, like we defeated the monster, but I'm the one who dealt the most, and you're like, it's mainly you attack it just so you don't get the negative repercussion if it flees, but you're not really in it to help anyone else. It's kind of like, oh shit, Brad's going to it. He hit that a lot. All right, I'm not gonna kill it, but at least I'll hit it. Yeah.
But this was just really neat. The variations of stuff, and you had the stunt cards, and you have all these different cool things that you do. And when you go to fight those monsters and you roll those dice, you're actually spending the dice. So that makes it very detrimental, like, because the dice upgrading system is really neat. How there's kind of it's almost like it's not a skill tree, but it's kind of a weird way of upgrading your dice. Depending on which direction you take them is how you can upgrade them further. It's just it's a pretty neat game, and I'm curious because I know part 2 is going to be kind of like a dungeon crawl.
Yeah, it's an RPG
thing. Yeah, so I'm curious to see what what it's going to be like. But
I want that one more than this one, and the only reason I say that is because this world is actually legitimately cool. Like, because like you said, the art book that came out, I kind of read about it, and it enhanced this game a lot. So if you have it and you haven't read it, highly recommend doing that, because it gives you context of what's happening. Oh, why am I going to what's this area? Oh, it's the Gladiator games, and you learn a little bit about what's going on there. What the hell is this? What do you mean, Heroes of the Reef? Oh, well, it's because these time mages fucked with shit, and they now there's like a portal like at the edge that monsters breach through. So I think the RPG is going to enhance that, and you're going to get to go into this world, which would be really, really cool.
Yeah, and I also like how you the worker placement in a round, you have the tokens that you leave behind. So you get what you start off with 2 or 3 actions, and then later on the game you get an extra one, and then you get another one. The last.
I like games like that, kind of like Everdell does that. You get more actions as you go.
Yeah, so this one is just a pretty game with a lot of cool options, and there's always something for you to do. Like if somebody takes something, there's always something for you to do on this one too.
So this is gonna be interesting because it says, not this one, sorry, the expansion, not the expansion, the second part 2, Rise of the Unfolders, Rise of the Underminer. It says featuring 18 scenarios with unique maps and 40 plus hours of gameplay. That's interesting. 18 scenarios doesn't sound like a whole lot, but I think other games just blew, like they have so many that it makes it seem like 18 isn't a lot. Yeah, new role of a new title blade, cooperative, narratively rich board game, work together through 18 scenarios. Each hero is equipped with a Nexus grid, allowing them to build up actions to create powerful combos. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, this Kickstarter is gonna, it's gonna go gangbusters when it finally comes out.
Hopefully, like this game went crazy, but then everybody was selling it. This one came out and people just were selling it like wildfire. I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely is an overproduced game. Like the amount of quality and art and all that doesn't match up with the gameplay, if that makes any sense. I think it's fantastic. I think it's super beautiful, and I love the quality of the game. In fact, I think it's even neat because it is a massive table hog, and the box is it did not need to be that long. Like it could have been halved, and you just have a taller box instead of a wider box, but when it's set up, like it's very pretty. Like I don't know, it could have been cool. I think really they should just made one stupid board.
Well, yeah, I'd agree with that. But the one thing that I was happy that they did was on those big versions, they actually made room for the expansion. Shocking.
They did.
They made room for the expansion. What was the company that we bash on for not doing that? I can't remember. But
I mean, throw a rock and you'll hit one. Like it's every single one of them. None of them ever planned for expansions. I am trying to think. Viticulture, not viticulture. Whoops. Vindication. Orange Nebula.
Yes.
Orange Nebula is the one where it's like, oh man, game trays, that's amazing. Okay, they're useless. Yeah. Yep. Or
really?
one of the worst game tray inserts I've ever seen is Merchants of the Dark Road,
Yeah.
where it's like, this insert is so bad it gave me cancer. Like, fuck you guys.
Yeah, I haven't opened mine yet on that. But just real quick, that title blaze was 72 last year. So
Okay.
it moved up quite a bit.
Okay. Yeah, yours moved up. Mine actually, I believe, fell. Tidal Blades was 57 last year for me, and then it went back all the way to 90 something.
Yeah.
But it's still really good. I actually ended up playing it last year, and I was like, yeah, this is solid. I almost think it's too short. Like, I would want one more round.
Yeah.
I think. Because like you mentioned with the fighting the monsters, that's easily, I mean, you don't have to, like, at all. Like, that's not a guaranteed way to victory. But if you want to do that, because of the dice reset, all the dice that you use, like, go away. Like, I don't think you have a whole lot of rounds to build back up to go keep fighting. Like, so one more round probably would be pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. My number 42 is my last new one on the list, guaranteed to be higher on yours. And this is actually one that you showed me, and I thought I was blowing everyone out of the water, and then you ended up, I think I still ended up winning, but it ended up being a lot closer than what I thought it was going to be between me and you. And this is Whistle Mountain.
Love this game.
This game is so good. It's amazing. It's amazingly good. Like, cause I mean, it's a worker placement game. Like, you have your 3 different types of workers. You have the blimp, and then the parachute, not the parachute, the hot air balloon. And then you have, I think, just a guy. I think that's the third one is kind of, but the best thing about this game is just the multiple avenues of getting victory points, and how you can just build these engines. The fact that a lot of, like, the items or the tokens you can get are to build an engine to then allow, oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, because of this ability, that allows me to now do this. And the freedom of turns and actions, because I remember we had to look up kind of like a very specific order of things. Oh, can I do this and then do a free action in between that before I do this action? And Scott, whatever his name is, I have it blocked. Scott Capito. Yeah, he was like, nope, you can do all that. So you have that really cool combo synergy in this game. All the while you're building, like, it has a polyomino kind of effect of how you're building up around the mountain. And that's kind of how you place your workers to then maximize the possibilities, but then you don't want to build too quick or go down too low because the water starts rising, which can then drown your people. And I think they're just -1 point or something for each person that's there. But
yeah, I believe it's something like that. Yeah.
But you definitely need them to get you, like, to have worker efficiency. So you want to save them. It's just like, it's so cool, like, how this works. Like, I think the name for, I mean, they really just did it because, oh, people are going to recognize Whistle Stop or the train one. But the theming of the game makes sense because it makes me think of, like, those old timey workers. And then you had the brake whistle. Like, that's the only tie-in of this title I can think of. But it's like, this was one of those games, whenever you showed it to me, we were playing, I'm like, oh, yep, this is a, like, instant classic for me. Like, I knew I was gonna enjoy it. Went out and bought a copy. I bought the insert as well, so
Yeah.
I have it all nice and organized.
If I was gonna say that if I had to nitpick and pick one negative to this game, it would be the when you are playing a game and you have those stacks of stuff, how they kind of block.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, I mean, you have to be creative on where to put the stacks of
Mhm.
tiles and
Yeah,
stuff.
I think we ultimately just didn't place them on their spots. We just placed them off the board
Right.
because they just, yeah, they just had really poor design in their board because it's 4 pieces as well, which is really stupid. It could have just been a folded board, and I don't know why companies do that. It's not like it's not modular. It's not like, oh man, maybe this piece will be here. No, it gets set up the same way every time. Just make a goddamn folded board. And yeah, and it's like, oh, okay, we're gonna place these cards here, and we're gonna place all these upgrade tokens here. Oh wait, will those block like text and actual like information you need?
Right.
So, but yeah, if you like worker placement and you like engine building that actually goes somewhere that enhances things that you're doing throughout the game, then this is a very solid one. So that's my number 2. Oh, go ahead.
Apparently they're working on an official solo mode for this as well.
Yeah, I thought it was already released, is it not?
It may be. It's not. It doesn't come up anywhere when I was looking for it, but it might be on their website.
I
know
thought
they
I
were
had it
working on
printed off. I think it's in my box.
Yeah, I need to print it off then if that's the case. But
Yeah, because I remember you mentioning that. But yeah, but I don't know. I don't know how good that is. But yeah, that's my number 2. Or number 4, my number 42, Whistle Mountain.
Yeah, this is a great one for sure. All right. So my number 42 is a game that I think you I don't think you like it. Which was a disappointment for you. It was another FFG big box game. Had the app assisted part to it, kind of like Mansions of Madness. The theme is what you like, but I don't think it hit for you entirely. That's Lord of the Rings, Journeys to Middle Earth.
Yeah.
I see where the holes are in this game, like what you say. I don't disagree with you on any of that stuff. But the reason it's this high on the deal is because this is my Lord of the Rings game. You know, like I like the Lord of the Rings. This is really the only way I can play Lord of the Rings. I mean, I could use the card game, and I've considered jumping back into the new LCG again. But for as of right now, if I want to play Lord of the Rings, this is my Lord of the Rings stuff. And I don't have the newest expansion, the new one, the Spreading War or whatever yet, but
yeah, no idea.
You know, the story is good. You know, it's there's just the app is solid for it. The app is better for this, I think, than Mansions of Madness. Just, I mean, not by much, just kind of like right there on the edge. But you know, I like
that's the thing. It's like the app for this one is designed for a campaign. Mansions isn't. There's no campaign in Mansions.
Right. But this one, I kind of like the the old success thing. The dice isn't the deal in this game. You use your little deck and you are trying to get those successes. That's a neat little creative way of doing that stuff. It has some characters that are well known, some that are not as much. You know, you get the old Balrog in the first big box expansion and all that fun stuff. But you know, this is one of those that is pretty solid. If I decide to get back into the Lord of the Rings card game, if I want to spend that much money on that have you seen that core box? If you buy it MSRP for the Lord of the Rings thing is $70.
Ew, the revised edition?
Yes. And I'm just like,
Why?
I don't know. Like online, it's 55. Like if you get it on stuff, and I'm still just like, God, it's just the core. You have enough cards in there to play 4 players, but I don't care. I'm going to be playing it by myself. You know, like 2 heroes probably. But it's so expensive, and I'm just like, ugh. And then I don't think they're re-releasing that. I don't think they're doing the the Arkham Horror release thing, like a whole. At least they haven't announced that they're doing like the whole cycle, kind of like Arkham.
Oh yeah,
Like you have to go back and buy all the old stuff because it's all
right.
compatible. And I'm just like, oh God, so much work.
Yeah,
But
yeah, hard pass.
yeah, so it's
I
fun
think
of
I'll
a game
just
as it
I'm
is.
just gonna stick with Marvel
Arkham.
Champions and Arkham Horror.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
So, but
geez.
so anyway, this one is it's a fun one. I mean, it's not without its imperfections for sure, but like I said, I mean, if you want a Lord of the Rings experience and don't have War of the Ring and stuff like that, and want to play it solo or cooperative, then this is the way to do it for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This one just like you think it would have grabbed me like Lord of the Rings Mansions of Madness, and it's like, oh my god, yeah, but Kat and I were just bored with
Yeah.
it. Like it just I don't know. So I mean I gave it a 5, like I gave it an average score, but yeah, I'm definitely in the minority on that one. All right. My number 41 and the last one for this segment went up from last year. It was 48, well, in 2020, and it was 42 in 2019. So really hovering around the same area. Surprisingly higher actually than its newest edition. Granted, they're both radically different games, but I think if you're going to play one, play the other at the same time, and that is Role Player. Role Player is a dice drafting game where you are making a D&D character. Enough said. That's my number 41. No. Yeah, Role Player Adventures was a little lower on the list. They are very close. It feels a little bit weird to separate them. They are drastically different games, though. This is literally a dice drafting game, competitive game where you are trying to make the best D&D character by making their attributes, getting certain color dice in certain slots, buying items that give you benefits and set collection, going out and fighting monsters with the expansion and having a familiar with the other expansion. Very clever dice drafting system. I enjoy it quite a bit with each attribute row having a different way to mitigate the dice. But with Role Player Adventures, you have characters, possibly ones that you've made from this game, you just carry over and change to that system. And then you go through a campaign with those players. In Role Player Adventures, of course, you have different booklets that there is an overarching narrative, but yeah, each book is kind of its own separate thing. It's not as sandboxy as some other campaign games. But because a friend of mine, he was talking about this, and he's like, I was telling him, I'm like, no, they're two different games, because he's the one doing the campaign with me for Role Player Adventures. He's like, yeah, well, I want to own both. I'm like, you should, like, but like, no, I'm not recommending people jump. Like, if someone is, I don't know, like, they are completely different. However, this one is just the mechanics work like very, very well. Like it's just the theming works, the card, taking the cards from the market. You could even thematically role play it. Like, granted, a lot of your class and background and stuff are gonna enhance what cards you might want, but I think for me, Role Player Adventures and Role Player are kind of going hand in hand now. Just because, yeah, while they're completely different games, I would almost always want to play Role Player to then have a character to then put into Role Player Adventures. So it's a really cool problem to have. Like, I hope Thunderworks Games is done with this game and only continues to enhance Role Player Adventures by making more campaigns. But we'll see what their plans are for that. But right now, Role Player is my number 41.
Yeah, I don't see. You'd think it would be more complicated for them to add to this.
Yeah.
Just because if they add to this, then they're going to have to tweak Role Player Adventures as well,
Yeah.
possibly. So I think if they just leave this alone and just focus on the adventures part, then
yeah, no,
I
I completely agree. I think that Adventures needs to be their focus. just because you can do a lot more with that. There's not a whole lot you can add to character creation anymore.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
maybe more monsters. Like if they're gonna add expansions, it should just be enhancement packs to more familiars and more expansions,
Right.
and more monsters. But like you said, okay, well now that's just a weird expansion to make. Might as well just make campaigns for adventures.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Good choice. All
Sweet.
right. So my number 41 is, it was 82 last year, so it made a big jump.
Dang, yeah, it did.
And this game is, it's almost perfection as far as a solo game goes. And it's funny because it lands on the same section of the top 100 that another solo game fell on that's in the same genre, and that is Under Falling Skies.
Nice.
So this
Yeah.
one and then Warp's Edge both being just kind of in the same tin, but this one's only going to go up, as far, and we talked earlier about CGE games. This is another CGE game that did wonderful.
True.
This is one of those ones, another one of the few. I don't show you very many games that you enjoy and then go and buy, but this was one of them, along with Whistle Mountain. But yeah, so you have your dice placement in this game, and this is like the ultimate puzzle game, wrapped up with the theme, because you're placing your dice. You want to place high numbered dice to be able to do better actions, more powerful actions, but then the higher the number, the faster the ships are going to come down at you. So you have to like really watch that and try to puzzle that out. At the end of each round, the mothership gets closer to your base. So you're placing dice to try to expand your base, your underground base. You got to watch your energy. You've got, there's just, this is, when I say brain burning, I'm not meaning like Vital Lacerda brain burning, but this is like, with this being a puzzle, it's like there's so much you have to take into account, or else you're just going to die, and this one has that campaign where you're bouncing around different cities. But I think I haven't played too much of the campaign stuff. I know you have. I think it pretty much is just different setup, isn't it? Like
pretty much, yeah. You have you're given different scenarios. They do a really cool idea with it, is that you're given 2 scenarios, 2 people, and 2 cities. So you have 2 different stacks, and you pick one, and you're just like, okay, well, this combination of person and city is going to work a little bit better for this scenario. But that's the variety, is it could be any combination for depending on the chapter you're playing.
Right.
And then the other one, that's the city that fell. Like it gets removed from the campaign because you're like, yeah, you didn't go protect London, you chose to protect Hong Kong instead. And I enjoy that because it also will determine what segments of the base that you use, which is also just a different way to play, because it could be A and E, instead of B and C or something like that. Yeah, no, this game, it's a solo only game, and like I keep saying, I'm not a solo player, but it was in my top 100.
Yeah,
like this one is really good. That dice system is amazing, because it's just like, oh, I'm gonna place it here. Oh my god, no, if I do that, then the mothership is gonna advance, and then that's gonna make my science track go back, and I just spent all my dice last turn moving it up. So,
well, and what was so cool about this game was this is the buffed up CGE version. They took this game that was designed as a 9-card solo print and play game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a 9-card print and play game that they took and they turned it into this. And you can actually even see it on BGG if you type in Under Falling Skies. There's a deal for the 9-card print and play, and this is,
oh yeah, it is,
and this is it. This is what started it, and then it got picked up by a company and fleshed out a lot more and turned into what it is. But this was just there's so much stuff in that little box, that
Mm-hmm.
and everything. This is just an awesome creation.
Yep. Good choice. All right, everyone. That is our segment 50 through 41. Lots of good games, lot more good games to talk about. Stick around for the rest of the series. Next, of course, will be 40 through 31. We're getting there to the top 10. But in the meantime, we'll just have to kind of trudge through these. Other than that, let us know what you think of these games in the comments below. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.